So, welcome to Gamescape 3D. This is our maiden voyage with some AI cameras, shower curtain with our logo on it. Uh, Also, our first recording on OBS, I think it's called. And we got some overhead microphones too. So, getting off the iPhone, seeing how it goes. If it goes okay, we'll add a second camera in and go from there. So I made this thing a little taller than I intended in terms of the tower. I was checking to make sure the repeatable floors worked on the tower, and I got confused by my own naming system and ended up printing the same floor a couple more times than I intended. So then I had to go back and print the right one. So it ended up being a little taller. I haven't measured it yet. I guess with the steeple on it. Wow. All right. Just a just a notch over 36 inches. So that'd be my tallest freestanding building. Uh, I guess one good thing about making it taller than I intended is you can see that the tower still looks pretty good in relation to its width and whatnot. So, okay, so this part comes out here in the next month. This part over here that you can't see fully came out this month. So we're going to first take a look at various ways you can put up our Arx Renovatur walls, various ways you can put them up to integrate this huge building into your walls. And then we'll take a look at the magnet. Well, now let's do this. Then we'll look at interior features like alternate walls. We'll look at that real quick. And then we'll go ahead last and take a look at the magnet application. Uh, and I would mention that this thing is so big, I don't even know if you need to bother with the magnets. I mean, you just slap these things side by side and leave it. But we'll go into it. All right. Well, thanks for stopping in. Let's jump to the next step here. I got a few Arx Renovatur wall pieces here. So we got a couple of just basic sections. Okay. And then got a wall end piece here. It's to represent the end place where a wall ends. Continues out one side. If you make a mirror of this, it'll work the other direction. And then I got the lower part of our ballista nest here. Not for any particular reason. It's just a piece I pulled out of the box. Okay. So the most simple thing you can do is you're going to have a huge hole on this side of your tower, where that dining hall or cathedral area is, depending on what you're using the building for. So to cover that up, we can use this wall end. This wall end can go either way depending on how it's mirrored, and that'll cover that hole for you. Okay, so this would be, if we want it pointed out, and have this structure here act as a strong point away from the wall, function that way. The only downside of that is that the only entrance to the second floor is right here, which would technically be on the outside of the wall. So you have to work that out. Also, you eliminate all entrances to the first floor, so you got to use a little bit of imagination if you want to use this as part of a wall. So yeah, this is probably your most formidable position here, using this as a strong point on the outside of the wall. An obvious secondary option would be to flip all this around, get a mirror print of this, of course, for that. And then have this part on the inside of the fort. And then have this stuff on the outside of the wall. All right. One last option The last option will allow you to keep the cathedral mess hall right here. That would be to use this as an inner turn. It'd probably work best if you're doing like a partial exterior wall. I can't imagine most people have a table large enough to accommodate the amount of space you would need to make a complete fort from this point. But, you know, if you had a section of the outside wall and the rest of it was like the interior of the city, I think this would work pretty good with this configuration right here. And then that would let you use the whole building as it is. Let's see. Other options. Well, there's other options, but it's just sort of an issue of whether they're practical or not. You can always just butt walls into areas whether they work particularly well or not, I suppose. But you know, okay. So there's a few ideas for you, and I'm sure y'all can figure out some other stuff. Okay. All right. We're back here now to take a closer look at the features. We're going to go over the alternate entrances, ways to break this building apart after we look at the individual parts, and then yeah, we'll take a look at the magnets, and then we'll get this thing loaded up, and you'll be ready to go. I have made the tower a little shorter because there wasn't really a way to fit it, the full thing into the view. So you will have a slightly smaller view of that than what was in the intro. All right, let's dig into it. Okay, first of all, I do have a little, steeple top that you can use, but there'll be room up on top of this roof for any kind of little statue you want to put up there. So you can figure that out for yourself if you want something else. Uh, the steeple part itself, there's not really room to do anything there. You can put a trooper in there and have it a watchtower, maybe make it like a treasure room with ladder access. We're just going to be using those floor doors there. And these are repeatable, these two parts, and you can make it as tall as you want. Top floor here, we just have a open roof there. So, if you want a little bit of a larger creature up here, you'll be able to do that. You want it hidden. And then all these floors are fully functional and repeatable. This is the top floor, so this can either be the third floor or the fifth floor or whatever ends up being the top floor. But I do think it has to be on a odd floor sequence or it won't line up right. Uh, Not sure if mirroring will be an option with that or not. Probably, it probably would be, but it's not something I've tested. Anyways, and then from there we just got functional stairs and stair openings all the way down. And that gets us down to our first floor there. I'm just going. Alright, so this gets us down to our main floor. This is going to be a vaulted room. Right here you got stairs all the way up. This top level comes off, give you a little extra space there. And then these are also, wide open. So if you want to have a larger creature in here, you can do that for a special encounter. We got these stairs that go all the way up there. All right. One thing I would mention is I didn't end up using the magnet attachments for the second level here. All the magnets are just on level 1. So you can either use the original fifth quarter on your level 2, or I'm actually going to be loading up a patch for the magnet one I put up because there's a little bit of an artifact there. But just so you know, you know, the magnet slot I manufactured for the second level is irrelevant. Um, so it's not necessary for you to use it, but I will load up a patch or you can use the original one. All right, now digging into this part here that we released last month, um, there will be some optional walls that you can plug into this part here. On the top part here, we have ladder access that goes down to the second floor, and there is one wall I made for this, so you could either have a captain's quarters here, or you could divide it up and do a captain's quarter and an armory with this wall if you wanted to. And these are little walls you can either set in there. They should be tight enough that you can just set them in there temporarily if you want, or you can glue them in there permanently. Um, so that'll take us down to the next level here. I think this table will work out pretty well generally, but you know, this is a big model, so it's a little tight. So here's our second floor. This is our door entrance, and we have stairs right here to get people up to the second floor. This second floor is isolated from the first floor in terms of entrance, and that's something I've picked up on looking at some of these older buildings, is that they don't necessarily have direct entrances from one floor to another inside the building. So that's something I've used in this design here. We do have an insertable wall right here, so if you don't want a large open barracks area, you can have a couple of officers' quarters. There's also another door and wall set that you could place across here if you wanted to divide it up even more. I'll hold that up a little bit so you can see it a little better. All right, and now we're moving down to our first floor. Okay. Don't forget when you're thinking about this floor that this is all connected here to the tower. Okay, so that's kind of the full thing right there. We do have insertable wall right here. I think that makes a good storeroom size right there. Oops, so I'll kind of take a look at that. And then this is a kitchen area over here. I got ovens along here. And then we also have a couple of T sections, and those can, oops, you can insert doors, slide those in. I am including a slightly altered door design with this release. The second part, and that door design has a slightly looser hinge space for people resin printing. I feel like it's could use a little more space on that for the filament insert to make it easier. Anyway, so there you go. So you can have up to 5 rooms there with a generous hallway, or it can just be all opened up. We'll take a look at these alternate entrances here real quick. Um, Nothing magical here. It's just basically a chop off of the existing models. One thing I would mention before I get started, if you want to, you can always use these for faux entrances, and there might be a number of buildings that you might want to use these on. So, like, even though there's no entrance on this side, like, you could just put it there for gameplay purposes if you wanted to create like a false entrance just to, you know, help out with your gameplay, your game flow. So I just want to mention that option straight up. Okay, So let's start cutting this thing up. I've made the tower even shorter, so things are a little simpler here. So the main division, people wanted like something they could use as a more modest size temple. So if we divide it like this, we can have a stronghold and a temple. So these are the two places where we need to create entrances. Okay. Um, you'll see an alternate barracks entrance option, and this is something that could go there, and that's all lined up for that. And then the shorter one would go on the church side, and that's all lined up for that. Whoops, sorry, got this tower the wrong way. There we go. So it'll look something like that. The only other option I'd mention is that if you'd like to, you can remove this. You can remove this long hall, and you can take this entrance, put it over here. So if you want the tower to sort of be its own entity, you can put the alternate entrances on either side of that and have that be a standalone object. So potentially you could bust this thing up into three pieces. You would need to reprint part of a tower though to cap this thing. Anyways, all right, let's go ahead and get into the magnets now, okay? And this is the piece right here that we want to focus on first. The sixth quadrant of level 1 should have 2 doors coming out, 4 magnet slots on it. Okay, this is where we start. And then everything lines up from there. Put these magnets on with the polarity all facing the same way for this first part here. So I put super glue on there, dropping these magnets on there. Dumped a lot of super glue on there. So try not to dump so much super glue on there. Hammer that one down. Okay. So like I said, just make sure those guys are all going the same way. Gotta grab a hammer real quick and pop this one down. So smack it a little bit while I'm over here. Okay. So there's the first set of magnets. Now, what we want to do, make sure everything works out, is we're actually going to align these magnets with this side right here. Okay, that way if you want to put this thing together in the original form without the tower, that'll be an option for you. Okay, so how do we do that? I'm going to go ahead and remove top part here. Don't really need that, except for vanity's sake. All right, so we're going to go ahead, glue these. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do to make sure that my polarities stay the same is I'm going to go ahead and drop my magnets on this piece that I already put together. So those magnets are sticking out there, and then I'm just lining them up. Popping them in. And I'm just going to twist this top part. Okay. If you have some other way to do it too, that's fine. It's usually a little easier to do than that because I wait for those magnets to dry all the way. But you can see those magnets are in there. This is the way I do it. That way I never have to worry about accidentally putting a magnet in the wrong way. Now I know that those two parts will pop together. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing over here. All right. Got those magnets on there. Drop a little glue in there. Slide it right off after I pop them into place. There's your magnets again. Do this one more time. There's our magnets. It's just this guy here, and we will actually go off of this other piece with a little glue in there. Pop it off. There's our magnets. So this will be the part going into the cathedral dining hall area. Okay. And this is, just so everyone knows, I'm using an old demo piece down here. So this is actually the newer version of this part right here. Okay. Then I'm putting these magnets on. There we go. Last magnet stuck. Sometimes that'll happen. Just keep a pair of pliers nearby if any of these magnets ever stick. I'll just do a manual insertion for that last one there. Okay. And now we're all set. Okay. All our magnets are taken care of. So just to review properly, we start out level 1, 6 quadrant, insert our magnets, make sure they are all the correct polarity. Okay. We use this polarity to do alignments on both of our short entrances. Okay. This one and this short entrance. Okay. Both short entrances get the magnets. We also, shit, that's not right either. Okay. Okay. Just to review, we start out with the level 1, 6 quadrant, put all our magnets in at the right polarity. We use this polarity to insert magnets on the taller short entrance, the taller roof short entrance, and on the stair side of our tower. Okay. We also use this polarity to establish the magnets on the opposing side of our tower. So both sides of our towers, the magnets are set up by this piece. Okay. After that, we use the stair side to apply the magnets to the short roof entrance and then we use the open side of the tower to apply the magnets to the cathedral / dining hall quadrant 7 level 1 piece. Okay.